much, Judy and implementation specialist, for having us. We really appreciate it. And thank you guys for joining us today. I know this is a little off your normal schedule, so appreciate those that can join us. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the 5 solutions that Rockton Software offers for Dynamics GP. But for those of you that might not be super familiar with Rockton, we did attend this year's GPUC conference, and it was awesome to get to meet some of you guys in person, and then also all of you that attended remotely. But for those that maybe didn't make it to the Rockton session, just a little introduction to us and our team. This is our wonderful team right here. This is me. We were just treated to a team-wide trip to Cancun, Mexico a few weeks back. So this was one of our team photos that we were able to grab while we were down there. Rockton is definitely good to all of us. They love that we get a lot of work done, and so they decided we needed to have a little bit of play. So awesome time down there. So we're all refreshed and recharged and ready for 2022. Rockton itself has been around since kind of the software stone age back in the 1990s. And we have been focused on the GP product platform for pretty much the majority of that time. The solutions that we offer, we've always had the make GP work simpler and easier motto. So that is really what we offer, are tools that just about anyone that touches GP can utilize, and just makes life a little bit easier in the work world, and we could all use some of that. We are a virtual company. I actually am in the Fargo, North Dakota region, so I know Judy's just up the road from me. As well as the implementation specialist office. But yes, virtual, pretty much everybody has kind of gone that route. So we're blessed to be able to work from home. And we are currently serving well over 100,000 GP users across the whole globe. So everyone from Fargo, North Dakota, all the way to, I have visited customers in our South Africa markets. So we've got them all over the place, and we appreciate every single one of them. So we're going to jump in to our presentation here. We've got about an hour. I am more than happy to answer any questions at the end of today's presentation that you guys might want to stump me with. So feel free to let Judy know if you have any questions. I know she's moderating for us, so we can answer those for you at the end. But we're not going to do a whole lot of PowerPoint. I'd rather just show you guys what we're working with. So we're going to jump right in to Rockton's flagship product, which is our SmartFill. This was the very first product that our owner and president, Mark Rockwell, developed and came up with, and this has been by far one of our most popular products, simply because it does not matter what you do in your organization. If you're in GP, whether you're on the payroll side, you're on finance, you're on purchasing, it doesn't matter where you're at, you can be using SmartFill and getting work done a lot faster. So I'm going to jump in and I'm going to show you how our Rockton SmartFill works. So we'll jump out into good old GP here. And we're going to jump over to finance and look at some accounts. So what the premise of SmartFill is, it is a super search tool for finding your records in GP. And when we're talking about records, think about places where you have to click on the magnifying glass. And think about how many times a day you have to click on that magnifying glass. Whether you're trying to find an account in the account maintenance window, or you're maybe trying to remember an account so that you can put together a journal entry. Maybe you're doing distributions on a sales invoice. You use those accounts a lot throughout your day. And you might click on this, 500 times a day. The purpose of SmartFill is to allow you to simply type across a field. So whether you're looking for an account, a customer, an item, an employee, whatever the case may be, we want you to just be able to tell us what you know about that piece of information that you're looking for, and SmartFill will go find it. So if you're looking at an account, what might you know about an account? You might know the account number, but you probably don't know all of your account numbers. You might know the name of the account or the account description or an alias. So we let you search with that information. So let's start with, let's say we need a cash account. I can type the word cash where you would normally get an error for putting in letters here. You can type the word cash, hit tab through those extra segments, and SmartFill goes through the entire chart of accounts and brings me back just accounts that had cash somewhere in either the account number, the account description, which is where we're seeing it, or the account alias. So you don't have to have cash even appear as the first word here. We can see over here, it's second. We have contain clauses. So if it contains cash or it contains, part of this word cash, we're going to bring back those results. We have one customer that has 1.5 million active accounts, and they will not click on that magnifying glass because that is essentially a wheel of death for them when they click on that. So they use SmartFill exclusively for finding their accounts. So with this, I've got my list pulled up. I have 12 results here. Maybe I have 1,200 cash accounts, because if I have 1.5 million active accounts, I probably have more than a couple cash. I can subset search here and I can say, hey, let's just find cash bank accounts. So now I go from 12 down to 7. From here, I can pick which account I want and I can fill in this window. But maybe I know part of a segment instead. So I'm going to go 1130. Well, I only have one 1130 account. So again, I didn't know where that fell as far as the segments. But because I only had one 1130 account or one petty cash account, it's going to auto-populate this window for me. So I don't even have to look at that list. SmartFill just says, oh, here's what you're looking for. Let's go get it. And this will work all over the system, as I mentioned. Let's jump out and look at it just for an example on a customer level. So if I'm in my customer maintenance window, I might not know my customer IDs, but I probably know the name of the customer I'm looking for. So let's say we're looking for West. Type West. Here's what I get for this search. I'm looking for West in the customer number. I'm also looking for it in the customer name, but you'll notice these criteria have changed a little bit. Now I've got my customer class, and I've also got my notes about my customers. What's cool with SmartFill is that you can customize each of these searches, even though they already come pre-set up, everything's defined for you. So as soon as you install SmartFill, which takes like 10 minutes, you can start using this in over 4,000 searches across GP without doing a thing. But if you want to maybe tweak what you're searching based on, you can do that really easily just by clicking on our Edit Object button. This goes out and it says, oh, what else might you want to search for a customer based on? So I can come down and I can grab my customer master because it's already pre-linked. And let's say I want to search for my customers based on the city that they're located in. I can say I want to search and display it. I'm going to see it come down here. This is just a little view of what that make a selection window looks like. I'm going to save it. And now my cities are showing up as well. And now that's a searchable criteria. So I don't have to get a developer or a consultant to come in and make this a little easier for me. I can simply search based on changing that object. And you can add up to 10 different criteria for every single record that you're looking for. So whether those records are customers, items, vendors, employees, whatever the case may be. And you can even use this in third-party products. I know Implementation Specialist has tons of key to act customers. We actually have key to act objects down on our website that you can grab for free. They're already pre-set up and you can use those as well. So if you want to use key to act windows and you want to search for maybe job numbers or service call IDs, things like that, you can use SmartFill for those places too. So that is what I wanted to touch base with you on for SmartFill before we jump back to our next solution. So each of these solutions, we'll break them out by product. They're each just a different product itself. So you can purchase one, you can purchase all 5 if you want. But we'll touch on them each here with their own heading so you know when we've switched to a new product. Dynamics Report Manager. This is an ability to automate some of your reports, whether those reports are your month-end reports that you need to get, a pack of reports sent to management every end of the month at midnight, or maybe you have daily reports that you need to get to your purchasing folks or sales managers, things like that. Dynamics Report Manager allows you to put some of that back-end automation into your different report types. Specifically, DRM works with reports like your SSRS reports, Crystal reports if you're using those. Obviously, you can use Report Writer reports, and then also Excel reports, things that you might have outside of GP that you would have to, possibly open up a whole different application to view that report. With DRM, you can bring all of those into GP and manage them in one place. So this Dynamics Report Explorer window is what each user of GP would have access to. And this is going to show the different reports that that particular user has access to based on how are they set up in GP security. You may not want, someone outside of payroll seeing your payroll reports, obviously. So we're not going to list reports that users can't access. This is just going to show me the ones that I'm available to see, print, email, do whatever I need to with these report types. So let's just say we want to look at a sales report. I can send this directly to my printer if I want, or I can queue this report up. So let's add that to my print queue, and I'm going to go to my print list. This list gives me the ability to take this report and send it in a different way. So rather than me having to download this sales report and get it all set up and attach it to an email, I can email it right out of Dynamics Report Manager. Oh, I need to set it to file, obviously, so that we can send this with a PDF attachment. And then I can just hit the email. I can even put a password on this if I want to make sure that just the certain people can access this report. So if I'm sending it to maybe an alias, accounting@implementationspecialist.com, I could put this password on here so that only the folks with the password can read the report. So we add a little bit of extra security with that option. And then obviously you can send it to your printers, or you can view this report right from here as well. So if I want to hit my print button, DRM is going to go out and it's going to kick off, in this case, Crystal, because that's what my report type is. And it'll generate the report for me in Crystal. And you only need one license of Crystal if you're using Dynamics Report Manager, simply because it only needs the one license then to open up the product. So there is my sales by customer report in Crystal. Additionally, we have our launch points, and this is how you create that automation in the background. Some of the launch points that are especially popular are the abilities to email invoices out. You're probably familiar with Dynamics GP. We have that ability natively to email out, say, customer statements. But when it comes to invoices, you're having to, save those different files and then manually go out and invoice those customers and send them their emailed invoices. With DRM, we can actually suppress that report that's going to pop up once you post a batch of invoices or you go to hit print, where we will create an email file for you. We'll send that invoice off to that email address that is on the customer card. So you can basically, go to a batch of 500 invoices, hit post and print, and voila, all 500 of those invoices have been emailed out to your customers. You didn't have to do anything. So that is one of the options with launch points. Scheduling is another piece of it. So if we look for our scheduled launch right here, here are my different month-end reports. This allows me to create reports based on a calendar. I've just given it a name and I've given it a frequency. You can go as often as hourly with Dynamics Report Manager. So if you need to keep up to date or up to the hour inventory reports, for example, you can use that option. Here's your daily reports. Maybe you need to send out a daily sales report. You can do that. Or your monthly. Of course, you have options as far as the 1st, the 5th, the 15th, the end of the month, whatever the case may be. And then you can set a time. Once you've set that time, your schedule is going to be created for you automatically. So I have my entire year set up of my reports that are going out, and I can select multiple reports to be in this report pack, and they can be multiple report types. So we've got an Excel report in here. And once this schedule comes up, boom, these 3 reports are then set up, they're emailed out if I want to do email, or I can even have these queued up and go directly to a printer. So if I know Monday morning that I need these reports, right here on the 28th, they'll be sitting at my West printer when I'm ready for them Monday morning. Grab my coffee, grab my reports, get to my desk. So that's what Dynamics Report Manager is really meant to do. It's to put that automation in the back end for your different report types. All right, cruising right along to our next solution, which is Rockton's Omni Price. Now, this product is one that you may or may not find yourself in need of. Omni Price is specifically for those of you that are using sales order processing or invoicing in GP, and you've got some goofy pricing going on. Whether that pricing, it maybe needs to be customer class specific pricing, or you want to give one customer, a special deal for being one of your VIPs. Or maybe you want to set up next year's pricing and not have to be sitting in the office at midnight on New Year's Eve while all of your friends are watching the ball drop. You are waiting to drop next year's prices. Omni Price gives you that ability to set it and forget it, basically, when it comes to your pricing. So if we jump back into Omni Price, this is a really small product, really intuitive and easy to use, but it's going to sit directly on top of your GP standard pricing. So what that means is if you're looking at extended pricing as a possible pricing solution, we are a lot easier to use in the fact that you don't have to set prices up for everything, and you don't have to change everything if you need to just make one little correction. We handle your exceptions. So those special scenarios that you want pricing for, you put those into Omni Price. Everything else just follows GP standard pricing, just like the good old days. So with our contracts, you can create as many as you want. It could be 1 per customer. You could have 1 per item. You could have 1 million if you want. There's no limit to the number of contracts you can have. So we're just going to call this implementation specialist demo. We can give our contract a priority, which you can have up to 10 priorities. So if a contract gets into a fight with another contract, we look to this contract priority to see who's going to win, what price do we want to use. We have the ability to track your markdowns to specific accounts. So if you are offering perhaps a discount based on, let's say, the GPUC show, for example, and you want to be able to track how many discounts did you give for that particular event, we can specify a markdown account for that discount so that we can go back and say, oh, you know what, we gave out close to $5,000 in discounts. That was a really awesome promotion for us, and we had customers taking advantage of that. And we actually have a way to tie that back to the sales themselves. Filtering is also huge with Omni Price. This is what's going to save you some of that legwork as far as, you know, creating a million contracts. You can create filters to put on your contracts. So in this case, I could have my particular price sheet or this contract good for every customer that I sell to, maybe just to one specific customer. I could sell to my national account customers, or I could create a customer filter. And if we drill into our customer filters, we're going to pull ranges directly from the customer card. So where it's obviously easy and where that information is stored, this is what we can create our filters based off of. Class ID is a really, really common one we get a lot of questions for. Maybe you're giving a special sale for one particular salesperson or a territory. You know, maybe we're giving a North Dakota winter sale and we only want to give a discount to customers that are purchasing that are from North Dakota. We could base it off of their territory, their shipping method. Maybe there's a better deal for UPS ground versus FedEx air. Shipping's getting expensive. You could use ship to addresses as a filtering option. But this gives you all of those different filters. And then once you've created this filter, you can use it on any other contract going forward. So we try to get rid of that repeating the same steps over and over again by allowing you to create these filters, duplicate these filters. Maybe you just need to swap out the customer class, for example. Easy to do with Omni Price. Item filters work exactly the same way. Only difference here is that we're going to pull your ranges from the item card. So classes of items, maybe a specific manufacturer is giving out a great promotion. Maybe barbecue grills are going on sale because we're hopefully going to hit spring here eventually. And we just want to give a deal on Blackstones. We could come out and, you know, pick specifically that manufacturer, or maybe it's just a specific style. So kind of use your imagination as to how could you create these filters and how could it be faster for you to create these prices. Date selections, this is where we give you that ability to create next year's prices or the next 5 years prices if you want to. You can have up to 5 effective date ranges for a contract. But if you are worried about, you know, maybe losing some extra dollars because you forget to turn a price off, this automatically does it for you. So once we've passed a date range, that contract's not going to get picked up again. You can archive it for historical purposes so you can see what last year's promo was. But if you've got that date filter on it, you don't have to worry about it being used outside of those days. And then your last filter options are additional filters that are coming right off that sales transaction entry window. So maybe you have a promo code that you want to put in one of those custom user-defined fields. You can even create user-defined promos and add those to your sales documents. So once you've created all of those filters and you've used them how you want, you get to pick your pricing methods. We give you 13 to pick from. So if you want to charge one flat rate or give one flat adjustment, whether that be up or down from a price, plus or minus $5, we can do that with a fixed adjustment. We do the percentages of cost, so standard cost or current cost, as well as your percentages of list and your percentages of calculated price. This is really handy if you already have price levels set up in GP standard pricing. So maybe you have a wholesale and a retail price level created. You can give additional discounts based off of those price levels in GP. We do have your markups on cost as well as your margins. So if you are worried about, always making that 60% margin on this sale, you can go ahead and put that 60% is what you need to make, and it's going to always look to that current cost of the item and just fluctuate for you the way that you need it to. And then obviously we have your discounts as well. And then no special price. If you want to just go straight GP pricing, you can do that too. So once you've created your contracts and you want to go sell things, super simple as far as what your end users need to do. All they have to do is create the invoice or the order, whatever they're doing. We're going to look at one of our hospitality customers. We'll grab Astor Suites. Little SmartFill there, so we know they're a VIP. They get an extra 8% off of product. Let's sell them something green. So again, SmartFill looking through all of my items so I don't have to remember item numbers. Here I'm looking at quantities available versus on hand, so I know that, as well as my vendor item descriptions. Looks like we've got one of those. Once I tab off of the invoice quantity, we always take one last look for a quantity break, and that is when Omni Price recalculates the price based on the contract. So we went from a $50+ 100 XLG to a $28. And if I want to see where the math came from, I can just check out our price check window. And this is going to give me all the information on the customer and the item in real time. So I'm looking at, here's my customer, here's their billing address, here's our ship to address that we have. We've got our item number. All of this can be drilled back to go look directly at those cards. But here's our costs, our list price, and it looks like we had two potential contracts we could have used in this scenario. They both are ranked as number one. The reason we went with this $28 price instead of our $59.95, just a setting that we have that says, let's always make sure our customers get the lowest price. If there's two contracts and either one could be used, they're both high quality or high priority contracts, we have that fail safe to say, do we want to give that customer the higher or the lower price? If I needed to, I can certainly also have the ability to switch to a different price, but I don't have to do that if I don't want to. That is just an option that I can turn off or on. But that is how it drives my pricing. And we do have the ability as well to recalculate pricing on the fly. So if I need to recalculate, maybe there's a different price available, maybe there's a new sale that was going on. If I recalculate, it is going to recalc back to that price that Omni Price initially said was the better deal. So in this case, recalculating it, put it back to its special price, which is a percentage of the current cost, and we can see there's where it's pulling that number because we are at 100% of the current cost. So that's Omni Price. This is super, super simple to set up. So if you guys are struggling with pricing, let us know and we can give you a hand as far as how to create some of those fun little contracts. All right, hope you're all still hanging with me. We just have a couple more products to look at. So let's jump back to our little PowerPoint for a moment. And we will jump over to Auditor. This is my personal favorite Rockton solution. I worked in Microsoft Dynamics GP support right out of college, and I was always shocked at how many times I would get phone calls from customers that said, something changed in our system and no one here did it. Okay, well, that's great. How do I help you to determine who did it if nobody will admit to it? Because GP, if you're familiar with the abilities for auditing, there aren't a whole lot built right into the product. So when I came to Rockton, I was elated to find out that I could solve that mystery for people. Who changed a vendor's address? Who added this line to this invoice that was ready to go? Who did these things? When did they do them? Why did they do them? Um, that wasn't always something I was able to tell people. So once I found that Auditor existed, I just thought it was the coolest thing. So I love coming up with crazy audits for people to be able to track who is making changes in your system. So I'm going to jump out and show you how simple that is to do. And we will go to a vendor in this case. And we'll make some changes. First thing I always tell people about Rockton Auditor, and it's different than other auditing solutions that are out there and different from even the activity tracking that GP has natively. Rockton Auditor is field specific auditing. So what that means is that you guys get to pick and choose the individual fields on a window that you care about that data being changed. So if you look at a vendor, for example, you probably care a whole lot if someone changes their EFT bank account information or their check names, maybe this address information. But you might not care if someone changes a fax number because most people don't even have a fax. So again, you get to pick and choose, and you have that little piece of control over what is it that you're even tracking for in the first place. That also helps you get around some of those scary performance hits that you might otherwise experience with other solutions that are auditing everything that could change in a system. Can you audit everything? You definitely can. But are you actually going to need every possible change that could happen in your system? Not likely. So we give you that flexibility to audit as much or as little as you need. So let's come in, we're gonna make some changes here. We're gonna grab one of our travel vendors and let's look at Burnett. So we have Burnett and Associates. We're gonna make a few changes here. Let's just say we want to change this vendor check name, which is a big no-no. We're gonna change this to Judy's name if I can spell. And we'll send this to the implementation specialist office, Main Street in Holly, Minnesota. I have no idea what the zip code is.
56549.
49. All right. All right. All right. Okay, so we just made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 changes to this vendor's record. Now, with every field that I have an audit on, so individual field again, I have two options. First option is that I can audit silently in the background. So that means that the end user that's making changes in GP, they're not even aware that there's an audit happening. They just make their changes, they do their job, and they go about their day. Second option is that I can require them to tell me why they made a specific change. Really helpful on things that might get people in trouble, like changing check names, changing pay rates, adding new GL accounts, things like that that kind of are screaming at you, why would you do this? You can ask them why they did that. So when I hit save, this is what's going to trigger my audit. It's going to write everything to my tables. And as soon as I do that, up pops the auditor note maintenance window. Specifically because I changed the vendor check name field from Burnett Travel Associates to Judy, I need to explain that change. The address changes all were recorded as well, but those aren't requiring me to say why did I change them. So at this point, my end user is locked in this window and they need to complete the reason or note field. You guys can set up predefined reasons if there's a common reason a field would change, or that end user can free text type in there as well. And at the same time this is popping up, if you look down on the lower right-hand side of my screen, that audit message center notification is going out in real time, again, specific to this check name field, and that is going out to my audit administrators. And again, those are different than SA users. We want to make sure we have that segregation of duties still happening. But this is going to pop up in their GP, letting them know that, hey, a sensitive field was just changed. I could click into this and get more information. It kind of fades off if you don't click on it right away. So that will then save to a message center that each audit administrator can access from GP. And it can also send an email, or it can do all three of those things at the same time. So if you need to make sure someone knows ASAP that something happened, you can use those notifications, again, field specific, to let people know when things have changed. But for my end user, we still got to give this reason why Judy changed things. She was paying for a vacation. Apply that note to the change.
Love it.
And Judy's going to Palm Springs or jail, depending on how her boss feels about that. All right, so we've done everything we need to do as far as the note goes. So then as an audit administrator, I can go and I can do my reporting. We went with the simplest reporting tool in GP, which is the good old SmartList. So there's no external report server to maintain. You don't have to create a bunch of fancy SSRS reports. You just need to be able to search a SmartList, which I know that everyone on this call is totally capable of doing because you guys have awesome partners teaching you. So with our SmartLists, we create the auditor folder for you. You don't even have to do anything. That's just installed automatically. We've got 3 easy to understand subfolders that are also created for you. Audits are going to be everything system-wide. So if you have 1 company or you have 100 companies, it doesn't matter. By default, we audit all users and all companies unless you dial it back. So say 5 of those are test companies. We don't want to audit our test companies, so we can turn those off. But it doesn't matter which company you're logged into, you can see all of the audits from wherever you're at. So you don't have to jump back and forth. E-sign approvals is included with Auditor and just went through a nice big renovation, if you will. So we've got some new features and functions in our e-sign, but this is going to allow you to put a lock on a field, so not a process, but a field like the vendor check name, and require you to get sign off before that field can be changed. So if you've looked into using something like field level security in the past and it's a little cumbersome to set up, e-sign approvals might be a good mix for you to make sure that the people that are making those changes have had them okayed, given their reason why they're being changed, and then you have that whole record of who requested approval, who gave it or denied it, and when. So that's what's kept inside of e-sign approvals. And then the last folder is security audits. We have 1 checkbox that you mark when you set an auditor up, and we'll automatically track any changes to GP security. So that's things like creating a new user, giving someone access to a new role, adding a new task to a role. All of that can be tracked for you and kept separate so that it's really easy to say, here's everything we changed in security this year. But let's focus on the audits part since that's what you guys just saw. I'm going to have the little star to start with, but I can start creating favorites and giving access to those favorites as I would like to do. So we're going to just search the vanilla smart list here. And I'm going to parse this data out just like any other smart list. I can search by the user that made the change, the date that change happened, the company it happened in, all the way down to the individual field that was changed. So let's just go to our search. I'm going to look for today's date because I think I haven't messed anything up yet. Haha. Oh, not too bad. Here are those 5 changes that I just made to that vendor's record. So you can see address 1 changed, the city changed from Boston to Holly, the state from Massachusetts to Minnesota. There's our zip code change, and there's our vendor check name change. So all of them were captured regardless of whether or not I asked a person why they made a change. But if we drill in, we're going to get the same information on all the audits. Date and time stamp. We got to know when this happened. The user that was logged into GP that made the change. Kind of critical. The workstation they were sitting at. You'll get that information unless you're using something like a terminal server or a Citrix environment, remote desktop, where people are all logging into the same workstation essentially, then it's going to indicate that for you. Company and database, the change affected, the type of audit it was. Table audit means it happened from within GP. We also have the ability to track at the SQL level. So if you are using integrations, Integration Manager, Smart Connect, something that writes direct to your tables, we can track those kind of changes as well. Also going to look for things like scripting that a DBA could go in and run an update, insert, delete statement. That can be tracked with a SQL table audit too. So we give you different types that you can pick from. We have different types of events that you can track. You can track adding a new record to the system, deleting an existing record, or editing an existing record. So that's just going to clue me in that, hey, this vendor was already set up in GP. ID is just a name. Product, we can audit just about any third-party product. As long as it's dexterity-based and it has tables and SQL, we can track it. So even if it's outside of GP, but it's still on that same instance of SQL as your GP, we can track changes and keep track of them in Auditor. Then we get into the field that was changed, the table that field lives in, the record key, so this is that vendor ID that was modified, the old value, nice to have, the new value, and our explanation. Why was it changed? If you weren't requiring the notes for like the address changes, then this field just stays blank. But it's a really nice, concise snapshot of where things were before and why they are the way they are now. We even have folks that use this as a performance indicator so they can see how many transactions users are entering during a day and things like that. So you can get kind of creative with what you use Auditor for. But this is the main piece. It's keeping an eye on what's changing in the system and who's changing it, and being able to have that visibility that you otherwise would not. There's lots more that I can show you in Auditor. We're running down to the last 15 minutes here, so I'm going to skip over to GP Toolbox, but definitely if there's questions or you want to see some of the other fun things it can do, let us know. So the final, we are going to take a look at the Dynamics GP Toolbox, and then we'll take a couple minutes if you have any questions, or just let you catch your breath and go get some lunch. So we're going to look now at the Dynamics GP Toolbox. This is a collection of tools, hence toolbox, not just a single tool. So there are currently 27 tools in the Dynamics GP Toolbox. And when you purchase this product, you have access to all 27. Most people will come knocking on Judy's door or my door and say, hey, I am interested in these 3 tools or these 2 tools. Can I just get these? No, you cannot. You do have to purchase the entire box. It is hard-coded together, but most people come out and they say that, hey, these are our top 3, and then they find out that they can use 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 of these different tools, and it costs absolutely nothing additional to turn on or off a tool. So feel free to explore the toolbox and kind of figure out what more can you do with these tools. But I'm going to show you a few of my favorites to begin with. The toolbox is broken out into 4 different categories, which you see bulleted here on your screen. So we have our security tools, our administration, our business process, and then our end user experience. So we wanted to make a toolkit that really kind of encompassed everyone, not just those system administrators, even though there is a lot in here that our system admins are going to love. So I'm going to show you a few of the most popular tools, and I'm going to start in the security section because everyone loves GP security. It's so user-friendly. So we created Security Manager. The Security Manager is a very snazzy grid formatted window so that you can see what your users can actually do in GP and print out a report in case you are getting audited. So the first thing you're going to do with this window is you're going to pick the company that you want to look at the security in, because this will pull in all of your companies. Then you're going to pick a filter, which is what fills in this left side of the screen. So you can see who has access to what roles, what posting permissions, what windows, what smart lists. Lots of options here. And then you can create your own special filters as well. So I'm looking just here at the role level. Then you get to click and decide what users do you want to see. So we can select our various users. I'm looking at 4 different users at the same time. So if I need to create a report for a department of users, or maybe I just need to see who's going on vacation and who, if everyone's going on vacation, who's manning the ship, who has access to actually run payroll or something exciting like that that people like to see show up on a regular basis. To determine someone's security, you go to the intersection of a role and a user. It looks like Dan is the only one that can manage the accounting right now. And maybe Dan is going with Judy on vacation. So we need to say that Tammy can access this. If we right click here, we will flip her from no to yes and give her access to that accounting manager role and all of the individual windows and reports and permissions that go along with that role. And if you're using Auditor, this would be tracked as a change to security. So we would also have that in a snazzy little folder for you. But this information is now able to be printed into a full report based on the amount of detail you want to see. So we can go super high level, just show me the roles, show me the tasks and the roles, or what we're looking at, the most granular detail, show me the individual windows, reports as they roll up into a task, into a role, all the way up. So if you're ever in an audit and they say, hey, show me everything that Erin can access in your system, you could come out, run this report exactly as you see it, grab Erin's name, print it out, and you are done with that report for her. This can also all be exported out to Excel or a CSV file. If you would like to manage your security in Excel, you can do that as well, and then simply import the list in with those changes. And now you've managed your security completely outside of GP. So this is a very popular tool for those of us that have struggled with security in the past. Another tool in the toolkit that has been very popular because of COVID is the inactivity timeout tool. If you have users that log into GP and they never ever leave GP, the inactivity timeout might be for you. If you are like me and you log into GP at home because this is where you live, but it's also where you work, so you're just going to forever be in GP because you don't want to get kicked out and then that license isn't available and then it says you can't get in even though you're probably not working at 3:30 in the morning. The inactivity timeout is for you. So what this tool does, to turn it on, mark the checkbox. There is your free training on how to use Toolbox. Mark the checkbox. You get to set a default number of minutes that the system can be inactive for that particular user's session before we gracefully log them out. And a graceful logout is the same as doing a file exit or clicking on the red X and completely closing out of GP. So it is not going to leave that user ID stranded and hanging there. This time can be modified based on different user groups. So here are my remote users. I can pick and choose who these folks are. Looks like Aaron and Ryan are my remote users. They're included in this tool, and they get 180 minutes before we gracefully log them out of GP. And when we say that we are looking for activity, that means that there's a push or a pull of data from the tables. So if you are in the middle of posting a batch and that batch is going to take 185 minutes to post, for example, we are not going to log you out after 180 minutes just because you got up and walked away for the next 182 minutes. That would be really, really not nice of us to do. So we are looking for that push or pull of data from the tables. We see that you are working. We see that you're running reports that might take a long time to generate. Or if you are midway through a transaction. So if you think of a situation where if you click on an X on a window, maybe you're midway through creating a purchase order and you just click the X, you're going to get that message that says, do you want to save this document? Do you want to delete this document? Or do you want to cancel out of this window? What do you want to do? If you're going to get that window from GP, you're going to get a response from us that says we're not going to close that session out because we don't know what to do with that transaction either. We don't want to assume that we should delete it. We don't want to assume that we should post it. So we are going to flash an annoying message that says GP is trying to close, please complete your work, but we're not going to kick them out. So that is how the system will react to a couple of those situations. But if you have 20 windows open and you haven't done anything and you come in and you wiggle your mouse around and you wake up the screen so the little ball isn't bouncing, that is not an activity. So in that case, you will get all 20 of your windows closed on you and GP will give you the boot, and that license is then freed up for someone more productive to get into the system. It's a good thing. We need to do that sometimes. Also, I always recommend marking clear stranded activity records. This allows us to go through and periodically check for the folks who forgot their charger for their laptop at home and their computer died, and so they're stuck in this remote desktop session. And GP is saying, well, that guy is stuck here until the next time he logs in and deletes himself out. This will go through, look for those orphans and clean them up. So the next time they log in, they save that time. Do you want to delete your session? Yes, and then re-enter your password. So that is what the inactivity timeout tool does. So as I said, there are over 27 tools in this toolkit, and we do have a fun little user guide that will show you, or it's just a single piece of paper that will show you every single tool and give you a little blurb about what each and every one of those tools does. So if you're interested in that, you guys can ask Judy and she can reach out to me and I can send that to you so that you get a little bit more information. We are getting right up to the top of the hour here, so I want to leave a couple minutes for questions. So I'm not going to jump into any other tools. You have been very gracious in listening to me, but I am going to put up our contact information. Obviously, you can contact Judy. She knows how to get a hold of me as well. But if you guys are interested in demos of, a little more in depth on a product, or you're interested in a free 30-day trial, we give you the full version of the product. You can install it. It's super simple. You just download it off our website. And if it works out, awesome. Work with Judy. We'll get you permanent keys. You don't lose any of your work. If you don't want it, there's an uninstall button. So it's very, very simple to put in or take out a Rockton solution as needed. So those 30-day trials give you the whole version of the product so you can actually use it with your own data and make sure that it's a good fit for you. So with that, I thank you for your time and attention. I thank implementation specialists for having us today. And Judy, do you have any questions for me?
Actually, I do. Excellent presentation. I've just learned so much. I always do when I listen to your presentations. You're just great at this. But I do have a
Oh,
question
thank
here.
you. Yeah.
And the person said they may have missed it, but back when you were at the Omni Price tool,
hmm
is there a spot where you can import? Was there an import option? I have to admit I didn't see it either. And maybe you mentioned it,
Oh,
so I
great
missed it
question.
too.
Yes, so OmniPrice does have an import and export functionality where you're able to set up those contracts in Excel and import them into the system. We can export, it basically gives you a pre-formatted template and lets you create your pricing in Excel as well.
Okay, perfect. So you could have different groups that are going up by percentage or by dollar figure,
Yes,
etc. So in that
absolutely.
Excel spreadsheet, and then you can watch it, fix it, import it. This one's wrong, re-import something new. Perfect.
Exactly. Yep,
Perfect. Perfect.
100%.
All right. Awesome. Okay. Any other questions we have here today? This is just so much information, and I love the example where you're talking about being in support, and I too can relate to those days in the auditor, and oh, something happened. Oh my, we had such great days back in support, and the things
Yes.
that people did and we never thought of. So it's very,
Yep.
very excellent examples. So any other questions, you can type them in the question pane or chat. We can check them out there. And so, Alicia, this has just been wonderful and excellent examples. So thank you so much. And we'll keep this recording
Yes.
on our website, and we will be reposting it probably in the newsletter. We'll let people know where this is located as well. So thank you again so much. And you have a super
Yes.
rest of your day.
Thank you. You guys as well. Talk to you later.